I honestly don't even know where to start. My whole world feels like it's been flipped upside down. Just a few days ago, everything seemed perfect in my life. My wife and I had just welcomed our baby boy into the world. I should be feeling nothing but joy right now, but instead, I'm filled with confusion and heartbreak. You see, I recently found out something I can barely even say out loud. My wife, who just gave birth to what I believed was our child, might have had an affair with my brother. It all started last week when our son was born. Holding him for the first time was one of the happiest moments of my life. But not long after, I noticed something that didn't sit right with me. Our baby has bright blue eyes. At first, I brushed it off. Sometimes babies are born with eye colors that change over time, but still, it struck me as odd. Both my wife and I have brown eyes, and as far as I know, neither of us has a close family with blue eyes, except for my brother. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I looked at our son, the more I couldn't shake the feeling. The resemblance to my brother is subtle, but it's there. I started thinking back, remembering times when my wife and my brother were a little too friendly, times I didn't think twice about back then. What really started to bother me, however, was the way my brother was acting around the baby. Suddenly, here he was, showing up at the hospital with flowers, holding my newborn son in a way I've never seen before. There was something in his eyes, like pride or maybe something deeper. He seemed strangely emotional and protective, which is just not like him at all. That's when the first real wave of doubt hit me. It was small at first, just a strange feeling in my gut, but it kept growing stronger by the day. It just didn't match who he normally is. My brother has always been the type who likes to live freely. He's never been one to settle down. He jumps from one relationship to the next, never staying with anyone for more than a few months. Commitment has never been his thing. He idolizes people like Andrew Tate, and he often talks about women like they're all gold diggers and they're all out to get him. Which is why, according to him, he never stays in a relationship for too long. He acts like being emotionally involved or committed is a weakness, and he treats most women like they're disposable. He even brags about being part of some WhatsApp and Reddit groups that teach men how to be so-called alpha males. It's the kind of toxic stuff you hear about online, talking down to women, controlling behavior, acting like empathy is some kind of flaw. You get the idea. I always figured it was just immature nonsense he'd grow out of, but he's only gotten deeper into it over the years. On top of that, he's made it very clear over the years that he doesn't like kids. In fact, he avoids them as much as possible. He's skipped out on family gatherings just because he didn't want to be around children. He's told all of us how annoying he finds them and how he never sees himself being a parent. That's why seeing him around my baby, looking gentle, emotional, and attached, hit me a bit too hard. It was the total opposite of everything he usually is. For a guy who hates kids and avoids anything to do with family, his sudden interest in my newborn felt off, way off. When I thought about his strange behavior, along with the baby's blue eyes and everything else, I don't know. I didn't want to believe it, but something was just not adding up. On top of this, my brother keeps going on and on about how handsome my son is. He says it with this strange kind of pride, almost like he's talking about his own child. He's constantly holding him, taking photos, saying how he can't wait to watch him grow up. I know that might sound like something a loving uncle would say, but with him, it doesn't feel natural. It feels too personal, too invested. One time he was sitting with me and my wife holding the baby and suddenly turned to me and said, "If anything ever happens to you, I'd be happy to take care of your wife and this little guy." I'd be happy to raise him like my own. At first, I just froze. I didn't know what to say. My wife gave a sweet smile to him, as if this was a perfectly normal thing in the world to say. I was deeply confused. What did he even mean by that? Why would he say something like that, especially right in front of both of us? It wasn't a joke, and it didn't come off as a random passing comment. It felt like something he meant. And the way he said it, like he had already imagined that scenario, it creeped me out more than I can explain. That's the moment I started taking note of the red flags flashing in my mind. The way my brother looks at the baby and the sudden interest in being around every day, and then his comments all started to seem really, really suspicious. The next red flag is how my wife has been acting around the baby and around me too. Feels like she hardly ever lets me hold our son anymore. Whenever I try to pick him up or just hold him for a little while, she quickly gets irritated and almost snatches the baby out of my arms. It's like she doesn't want me to have that closeness with him. What's strange and honestly really painful is that she has no problem letting my brother hold the baby for hours on end. My brother will be there playing with him, cuddling him, just spending all this time with our son. But if I step in and try to hold or play with the baby, suddenly both my wife and my brother get upset. They'll argue with me, saying things like, I'm bothering them, or that I'm being too rough, or even when I'm just trying to spend time with my own child. It feels like they keep trying to push me out of the picture, like I'm not really part of this family anymore. It's confusing and heartbreaking because this is my baby, my son, and I want to be there for him. Every time I try, I'm met with resistance from the two people I'm supposed to trust the most. I often kept asking myself, why are they acting this way? What don't they want me to see or know? This past weekend, I finally opened up to my best friend about everything that's been going on. We've been close since we were kids, and he's someone I trust completely. I told him about all my worries and the strange things my wife and brother have been doing, the weird comments, the way my wife won't let me hold the baby, and all the little things that have made me question if my son is really mine. When I finished, he looked at me with a half smile and made a joke that caught me off guard. He said, maybe your son isn't yours after all. Maybe he belongs to your brother. At first, I just shook my head and laughed it off. I thought he was only trying to lighten the mood because he knew how heavy everything sounded. But the next day, he showed up at my place with a surprise. A DNA test kit. I wasn't expecting it at all. He told me privately, look, this might sound a bit harsh, but if you're really worried, this will give you some answers. It'll either clear your doubts or confirm your fears. Either way, it's better to know for sure. I was taken aback by how serious he was about it. Deep down, I knew he was right. I needed to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Having that kit in my hands made everything feel more real, like I was standing at a crossroads about to take a step that could change everything forever. I don't really know what came over me, but without telling my wife, I decided to do the DNA test on my son. I guess I just needed some peace of mind. I wanted to finally put all my doubts to rest one way or another. It felt wrong to do it behind her back, but at that moment I felt like I had no other choice. I needed to know the truth, even if it was painful. Then, today, I woke up to a notification on my phone. It was the test result. My heart was pounding as I opened it, and what I saw shook me to my core. The results showed that my son is not biologically mine. I couldn't believe it. I felt completely numb, like the ground had disappeared beneath me. It was like I was trapped in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I never thought that something as simple and harmless as a DNA test could reveal such a devastating truth. My mind raced with questions, pain and disbelief. How could this be? How could the people I trusted the most betray me like this? Everything I believed about my family, my marriage, and my son, it suddenly felt like a lie. The test didn't just tell me that my son isn't biologically mine, it gave me even more information that made everything painfully clear. The results showed that while my son's DNA did match mine, it wasn't in the way a parent's DNA should match a child's. Instead, the way our DNA matches suggested something else entirely, that my son and I share DNA, but I am not his biological father. At first, I was confused by what this could mean, but then it hit me with full force. The only way for this to be true is if my son's biological father is someone who is closely related to me, someone who shares my DNA in a way that could cause this kind of match. The only person who fits that description is my brother. The realization crushed me. It confirmed all my worst fears. Not only had my wife been unfaithful, but she had almost certainly been with my brother. Suddenly, everything they had been doing, the strange visits, the way they acted around the baby, the things my brothers said made terrible sense. Their suspicious behavior, the way they shut me out, the comments, all of it wasn't just strange anymore. It was proof. Proof that the family I thought I knew had been hiding something devastating from me all along. My wife was still sleeping beside me, completely unaware of the secret I had discovered. I kept thinking, how could she have done this? How could she have betrayed me like this, cheated on me, and then expected me to accept this child as my own without a word? The thought made my blood boil. If it hadn't been for that test, I might have never found out the truth. I would have stayed in the dark, pretending everything was fine while living a lie. Unable to stay in bed any longer, I got up and quietly walked into my son's room. The moment I saw him lying there, sleeping so peacefully, so innocently, tore at my heart. He looked so small, so perfect, just like any newborn should. But knowing what I now knew, that this child wasn't mine biologically, made the pain even sharper. I felt so sad. Despite everything, he was still a baby who didn't deserve any of this, and yet it broke my heart to realize that the family I thought I had was shattered in front of me. Ever since I saw the test results, I've been completely lost. I feel like my world has fallen apart and I don't know what to think anymore. My mind is a whirlwind of confusion, anger, sadness, and betrayal all mixed together. I find myself replaying every moment, every conversation, every look between my wife and my brother, trying to piece together how I missed the signs. It's overwhelming, and some days I can barely get out of bed. I haven't told my wife anything yet, and part of me wants to confront her right away and demand answers. Another part of me feels like I'm not ready. I need time to process everything, to try and understand what this means for me, for our son, and for our family. Right now, I feel numb and unsure about what to do next. I'm scared of what might happen if I bring this up too soon. But I also know I can't keep living with this secret eating away at me. AITA if I decide not to accept the child even though it breaks my heart. Update 1. For a little more background, as some people keep asking, my wife has always been a stay-at-home wife. I'm the one who works and brings in the money to support our family. We have a joint bank account and she always been free to spend whatever she needs without any questions or limits. I try to do my part too. I cook for her every weekend and throughout the week. I help with chores like washing dishes and doing the laundry. I make sure we spend quality time together by taking her out on date nights. And we even go on international vacations twice a year. I've always tried to be a good husband, not just to her, but to her family too. I love my in-laws, and whenever they've needed financial help, I've been there for them without hesitation. So looking back at everything, I just don't understand why she cheated on me. Was she really that unhappy in our relationship? If she was, why didn't she ever try to talk to me about it? Why did she keep all of that bottled up inside and go behind my back instead of being honest? And the biggest question of all, did I really mean so little to her that she could do this without a second thought? I'm struggling with these questions every day. Also, just to be clear, Since we haven't agreed on a name for our baby yet, I haven't signed any official papers that would legally recognize me as his biological father. This might actually be a small relief in all of this chaos because it means I haven't legally committed to being his dad on paper just yet. Because of this, if I do decide to divorce my wife, I have some legal protection. I can prove that the child isn't biologically mine, and that would mean I wouldn't be responsible for the child support. This is a very complicated situation, and I don't want to rush into anything without thinking it through. But knowing this gives me a bit of control in this situation. I also talked to my best friend about everything after I got the test results. He was just as heartbroken as I was. When he gave me the DNA test kit, he never imagined it would lead to something so painful, something that could break my marriage apart. He gave it to me, hoping it would help ease my worries and put my doubts to rest. Instead, it did the opposite. It tore open the truth and showed me a side of my wife that I never wanted to see. He told me he felt terrible about how things turned out because he wanted to help me find peace, not more pain. But at the same time, he said he's glad I finally know the truth. It's better to see reality clearly, even when it hurts, than to live in a lie. His support means a lot to me right now, even if the truth is harder than I ever imagined. Update 2. I finally found solid proof that my wife did, in fact, sleep with my brother. Yesterday night, when my wife was asleep, I quietly went through her phone, hoping I wouldn't find anything, but I knew deep down I might, and sure enough, I found conversations between her and my brother that had been going on for almost a year. Secret messages, texts filled with things they shouldn't have been saying to each other. It was all there, clear as day. It turns out my wife was the one who started everything. From the messages I found, she was the one who reached out to my brother first. She told him how unhappy she was in our marriage and that she just wanted someone to talk to. At first, their conversation seemed like she was just venting, sharing things with him that she didn't feel comfortable saying to me. But over time, it went beyond just talking. She began sending him pictures of herself in lingerie. Seeing these photos on her phone was like a stab right through my heart. In some of the messages between my wife and my brother, she admitted something that shattered me completely. She said that she had definitely married the wrong brother. She confessed that when she chose me, it was because she wanted stability rather than someone good-looking. According to her, if she had been honest with herself, she would have married my brother instead of me. Reading those words felt like a punch to my stomach. I honestly felt like I was going to puke. It's one thing to know she cheated, but to hear her say things like that, like I was just the safe, boring choice, not the man she really wanted, cut deeper than anything else. Made me feel small, unwanted, completely worthless in the person who was supposed to love me most. Those messages were proof of how little I meant to her, how she looked at me as a fallback rather than her partner. It's hard to even put into words how much that hurts. As for my brother, it's clear he actually seemed to enjoy all the attention from my wife. There was no sign at all that he tried to stop her or pull away. In fact, he would often send her pictures of himself working out, almost like he was showing off for her. Their secret meetings happened repeatedly right behind my back while I was completely unaware. What hurt the most was finding out that my wife had told him that she was pregnant long before she ever told me. When he asked her if the baby was his, she didn't even hesitate. Her answer was a clear and obvious, obviously. Knowing this just crushed me. It wasn't just the affair itself, it was how open and real their connection was. All happening in secret while I was left in the dark, trusting both of them. The fact that they planned and hid all this together feels like a deep betrayal from two of the people I was supposed to trust most in this world. In the conversations, my brother at one point did try to convince my pregnant wife to finally come clean and tell me the truth about the baby. But she didn't like that. She pointed out that, unlike him, I have the financial stability to support her and the child. And that's true. My brother still doesn't have a steady, well-paying job, while I work hard to provide for our family. This shows that she knew exactly what she was doing. She counted on me to provide for her and the baby, while she and my brother planned to trap me into a situation where I'd have to take care of a child that wasn't biologically mine, potentially forever. They basically wanted to baby trap me, using my own love and responsibility against me. After uncovering all the messages and seeing the full extent of their betrayal, I have contacted a lawyer without telling my wife. I'm not going to let this slide. I've worked too hard and given too much and trusted too deeply to just let them walk all over me. I want to make sure that she faces the consequences for what she's done. I gave her everything, my love, my support, my loyalty, and this is how she repaid me. As for my brother, I won't stay silent about what he's done either. I plan to make sure that everyone knows the truth about both of them. They deserve to be exposed for what they are. Update 3. Hey everyone. It's been a while since I last shared anything, but I finally have an update, and it's a big one. So, I came up with a plan to expose my brother and my wife. I wanted to do it in a way that would make everyone see exactly what had been going on behind my back. I organized a family get-together under the pretense of celebrating the birth of our child. I invited everyone, both sides of the family, hers and mine. I told them it was a small party to welcome our baby into the world and to celebrate this new chapter in our lives. My wife was completely caught off guard and pleasantly surprised by the gesture. She had no idea that I had planned all this. As the guests arrived, everyone seemed happy and cheerful. My wife was smiling, my brother showed up too, acting like nothing was wrong, as if he hadn't spent months behind my back sleeping with my wife. Once everyone had settled in, chatting, eating, enjoying themselves, I knew it was time. My heart was racing, but my mind was clear. I had waited for this moment. I stood up and gently tapped my glasses, getting everyone's attention. I began by thanking everyone for coming. I saw how grateful I was to have both sides of the family under one roof to celebrate such a major moment, our child's birth. I kept my voice steady, calm even. I wanted them all to hear me clearly, and then I turned to my wife and asked her to stand. She stood up with a big smile on her face. She probably thought I was about to shower her with praise or give her some kind of surprise gift. I saw the excitement in her eyes, the way she clutched our baby and glanced around the room with pride. Then I pulled out my phone, and without another word, I sent a group message to everyone in the room. The message was already prepared. It included screenshots of the private conversations between my wife and my brother. Messages filled with betrayal, secrets, and intimacy that should never have existed. Just in case anyone still had doubts, I had also included a few of the more damning intimate pictures. Nothing too graphic, just enough to make the truth undeniable. Once the messages were sent, I looked around the room and raised my voice loud enough for everyone to hear. I want to thank you all for being here today, because this isn't just a celebration, it's also the day I finally free myself from a lie. I'm divorcing my wife. She's been having an affair with my brother for months while I've been working, cooking for her, building a life for us. She's been betraying me behind my back with my own brother. There was a heavy silence in the room. People froze. I could hear gasps. All eyes turned towards my wife and my brother. My parents looked at me stunned and confused, trying to process what they had just heard. My in-laws looked horrified. My wife and my brother's faces turned as white as ghosts. The color drained right out of them as I continued, my voice steady but filled with the weight of every word. I told everyone to check their phones, to look at the messages I had just sent. You'll see exactly how disgusting and deceitful my wife and brother have been, I said, glaring at them both. They'd been sleeping together behind my back while I was trusting them, building a life with my wife and thinking my brother was family. The room was frozen in disbelief, phones glowing in the dim light as people scrolled through the messages and photos. Murmurs and gasps rippled through the crowd. Then I brought out the final piece of evidence. I pulled up the results of the DNA test I had done on the baby without my wife's knowledge. I showed everyone the proof that crushed me more than anything. I was not the biological father of the child I had been raising. The test confirmed that my brother was the real father. At that moment, my wife gasped sharply. Her face flushed a deep, burning red, a mixture of embarrassment, shame, and guilt. She looked around the room, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The shame was written all over her. My dad, his face a mix of disbelief and anger, turned sharply to my brother and asked him directly, "Is this true? Did you really do this?" My brother started to splutter, trying to deny or explain, but in the end, he just nodded his head in reluctant confirmation. That small gesture was like a punch to the gut. Without wasting a second, my dad exploded with rage, yelling at my brother, his voice booming through the room. "How could you? How could you betray your own family like this?" The shock and anger in my dad's voice filled the silence that had fallen over everyone. Seizing the moment, I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared earlier and with all the hurt and fury inside me, shoved them right into my wife's face. Everyone was watching and I made sure she heard every word clearly. "I'm done with you, your lies, your cheating, your betrayal. I'm divorcing you. You can go live your life with my broke, selfish brother," I said, my voice cold and final. My wife's face crumpled with desperation. She began pleading, trying to convince me it was just a stupid mistake. She begged me to forgive her, saying she wanted to fix things and work on our marriage. But I was beyond listening. My in-laws, who had been silent until that moment, started yelling at my wife, furious that she had torn apart what was supposed to be our marriage. Their voices echoed through the room, full of disappointment and betrayal. My wife tried to shed a few crocodile tears, probably hoping for sympathy or forgiveness, but by then, the damage was already done. No one was buying it. The whole party quickly turned into a chaotic mess. People were shouting, expressing their disgust, and openly condemning my wife and brother. Both of them got yelled at repeatedly, with everyone making it clear just how deeply disappointed and disgusted they were by what had happened. After that night, my wife, well, my ex-wife now, packed up her things and left the house with her son. She begged and pleaded for me to reconsider, to forgive her, but I didn't even have the energy or desire to look at her face. The trust was broken beyond repair. My brother has been trying to contact me since then, but I don't care to hear a single word from him. Last I heard, my ex is now living at my brother's place because her own parents have completely cut ties with her. They called me after everything came out and made it clear that they stand firmly by my side. They were deeply embarrassed and hurt that their daughter betrayed me like this. Now the whole family despises her. She's isolated, and it's a consequence of the choices she made. As for me, I'm focused on healing and moving forward, one step at a time. Update 4. It's been about 2 months since I last shared an update, and since then my ex has been doing everything she can to delay the divorce. No matter how many times I block her calls, messages, and emails, she keeps finding ways to reach out. She sent me countless letters begging me to take her back, asking for forgiveness and promising she'll change, but after everything, I'm not sure if I can ever trust her again. I've also learned some disturbing news about what's been happening with her and my brother. Since they've been living together, Apparently, things are far from perfect. They constantly fight and argue. My brother is clearly under a lot of pressure. He can't handle the responsibility of taking care of both my ex and his son. It seems like he's struggling to provide for them, which has only made the situation worse. My ex, who's used to a certain lifestyle, resents the fact that my brother can't give her what she wants. She's frustrated and unhappy, and it's obvious that this arrangement is breaking them apart instead of bringing them closer. It's painful to hear, but I guess I dodged a bullet by walking away. Anyway, my parents, who at first fully supported me leaving my wife and were very angry at my brother for betraying me, are now worried about how things are turning out. They think that by walking away from the child and letting him grow up with my brother as his father, I'm being cruel. My mom especially says I should have more empathy for the baby, who she calls Faultless, and that I should at least try and help out financially, even if I am not involved emotionally or biologically. But my lawyer has strongly advised me not to do that. He has warned me that if I start helping out financially, my ex could use that to force me to pay child support, and I don't want to fall into that trap. I understand it's sad that the baby might have a difficult life because of this situation, but I feel like I shouldn't be held responsible for what my wife and brother did. They made those choices, and now they have to face the consequences. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.